Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of What Nobody Told Me After 65. Well, it's your lady on the go, lady in the know, Miss Info. You've reached the Information Nation, where knowledge is shared and wisdom exchanged for the betterment of a people. I am so sorry I'm late. I went out earlier and it's been raining like crazy. But I went out and met some friends and went out and had a bite to eat. And because of the rain and everything, I sort of sat in the car. I am so late getting this out tonight, but here I am. Listen, there are some things that are gone but not forgotten, right? You know, we talk about back in the day. What does that mean? Back in the day means different things for different people, because back in my day was the 50s, 60s, 70s. Back in my mama's day was the 30s, 40s, and 50s. You know, so it means different things to different people. So when we say back in my day, it takes us to a very nostalgic period in our life. Even some of the things that I remember, you may not remember. Even if we're from the same era, you may not remember those things. But anyway, in terms of what I remember, when I think about my childhood, I remember certain things, certain smells, like going to my grandmother's house and she'd be cooking, and certain smells would take me back. Hearing a certain song will take you back, remind you of certain things. But we know that in order to move forward, you must know where you come from. And that's nostalgia. Nostalgia is a longing or wistful affection. This is the dictionary's definition. Remind me not to go out anymore and stay out past 10 o'clock. I can't do it. Oh my God. Brain freeze. So it's a wistful affection for the past. That's nostalgia. So if you're reminded of happier times and places and personal reflections. So let's go back a little while. I remember Elsie the cow. You remember Elsie the cow? She was the mascot for the Borden Milk Company, or the dairy company. I remember the little girl on the salt box. I remember the gas station that had a big ball on it. I forget what the name was, but I think it was 76 gas station. Big round red ball. I remember that. How about the Clydesdales for Budweiser, that beer commercial? I thought they were the prettiest horses. Virginia Slim cigarettes. That commercial was all that. Marlboro, the Marlboro Man. Budweiser, Colt 45. That was just off the top of my head. The list goes on, and you probably remember some different ones. So I'm going to be mentioning, I'm going to give you some background information on some of the brands that I pulled up. But, and then I'm just going to run off some names. It'd be fun for you to give me some of the names that you remember, some of the brands that you remember that are no longer around. Or maybe they morphed into something else. Because I was amazed to find out these companies are still here, but they've been acquired by something else. One day I'm going to go through all that streaming, programs, and how they're being acquired and bought by other companies. Because it's amazing. When you peel it back, you're still dealing with the same company. Somebody just bought them out, took them over. Yeah. So let's take a look at cars. American Motors. They were started in 1954. They started making the Studebaker and the Packard. Remember those names? They also made the Rambler, the Hornet, and the Matador. My friend had a Matador when I first started driving. Man, he let me take that car out. I had no license. And my first time out, and I got pulled over. That's another story. So, they also made the Javelin. These were expensive cars, I think. Anyway, the Studebaker went out of production in 1964. I didn't realize it was still being made early into the 60s. And then the American Motor Company ceased to be a company in 1966. They were gone. And here's the Borden Company. It was called Borden Incorporated. It was founded in 1837. Wow. At one time, it was the largest dairy company in the United States. And their mascot was Elsie the cow. I'm going to post on the description page, I'm going to post some of these icons so you can take you back. But they made non-dairy creamer, in addition to cheese and ice cream and all that. They made non-dairy creamer and instant coffee. But eventually they diversified into printing ink, fertilizer, and making PVC, which is those plastic pipes, PVC. In 1968, the Chemical and Plastics Division was so large they had to create a new company just to manage the growth. So Borden was bought out in 1995, and they licensed the use of Elsie the cow, but retained the trademark. You know, when they have these icons and these mascots, that's their brand. And if you let somebody get a hold to your brand, then you lose your identity. But anyway, Borden held on to Elsie the cow and retained their trademark, which was Borden Company. Finally, though, in 2001, they were having some financial difficulties. Borden sold the remaining food operations, and in 2014, the Elsie Borden trademark was sold to a company in Mexico. So you can still find Borden and Elsie the cow, but you're going to find them in Mexico. How about, do you remember Pet Milk? Pet Milk. I don't even think we called it milk. I mean, just by saying, give me a can of Pet, you knew what to do. It was canned evaporated milk that could stay in the cupboard forever. It was used primarily for baking and cooking, not so much for drinking. I don't ever remember drinking evaporated milk. But the Pet Company began to diversify in 1950, and they acquired Old El Paso Mexican Foods and Progresso Soups and Whitman's Chocolate and Underwood Canned Meats. I think I remember them. Underwood. In 1995, Pillsbury bought Pet, and when Pillsbury was acquired by General Mills in 2001, the brand was ultimately acquired by Smuckers in 2004, and eventually Pet became Eagle brand. Eagle brand, I think that's the red can. It's still milk with the eagle on it. They got that in 2014. The canned milk is still being produced under Pet Dairy. So they're still around. How about Standard Oil? SOHIO, Standard Oil of Ohio. This was a gas company that was started in 1870 and was no longer in business in 1987. This was founded by J.D. Rockefeller, the big Rockefeller company, family. In the 60s, Standard Oil partnered with BP, the BP gas stations, in the construction of the Alaskan pipeline. Wow. In 1991, all stations were rebranded as BP. The green and yellow, yeah, that's their brand, BP. How about Westinghouse? Remember Westinghouse? Electric company was founded in 1886 by George Westinghouse. And in 1945, it was renamed Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company. That company then bought the CBS television station. And in 1995, they rebranded that company as CBS Corporation. It wasn't Westinghouse anymore. It was called CBS Corporation. And then that company was bought by Viacom in 1999. I remember seeing Viacom. Yeah. But you know, I remember the Peacock. What was it? The NBC Peacock? CBS had the round thing with the eye in the middle. ABC. Oh, that was their, those were their mascots and things that you remember. Now, that was when television used to go off after 11 o'clock. You'd hear the... I wake up so many times and that's on. All right, how about Showbiz Pizza? Guess what they are now? Chuck E. Cheese. In 1990, Showbiz Pizza went out of business and was acquired by Chuck E. Cheese. Purina Dog Chow. Now, that wasn't the name of the company, but we called it Purina Dog Chow. It was founded in 1884, and it merged with the Swiss Foods in 2001. Now, I don't know how come that doesn't appeal to me. Dog food and people food all being made in the same plant? Really? I'm not sure. I'm not saying it happens that way, but they are now called Nestle Purina Pet Care Company. And then there was King Vitamin Cereal. I think it was being showcased as having these vitamins in it, and that was a good way to get your kids to get the vitamins that they needed by eating King Vitamin Cereal. Quaker Oats made it. It lasted from 1968 and then was discontinued in 2019. Then there was Quisp cereal, also another Quaker Oats brand. Quisp and Quake. They interchanged the names. You can't buy it anymore. It started in 1965, but you can't buy it in the stores anymore. You can only buy it online. Since 2012, you can buy Quisp and Quake cereal online. So whatever happened to Sierra Mist? Remember them? Tab, Team. And here's something I didn't know anything about. And of course, I checked it out because it's called Delaware Punch. Delaware Punch. But it has nothing to do with the state of Delaware. It was named that for the kind of grapes that were used because it was a fruit-flavored soft drink. Had no bubbly, fizzy stuff in it. And it was discontinued in 2020. But I think it started out in Ohio. There is a Delaware, Ohio. Yeah. Didn't have anything to do with the state, my state of Delaware. And what about Burma Shave? It's a little before my time, 1925, but they were around in the 60s, and I remember they had the billboards, they had the catchy rhyming commercials. It was a shaving cream. And in 1963, it was sold to the Philip Morris Company. still owned, still operating, but not like they were. Then there was Gleam toothpaste. It came out in 1952, and it went away in 2014. But guess what? It got revived in 2019 as Crest. That's right, Crest toothpaste is what was Gleam, because I remember Gleam. And their nearest competitor was Colgate. How about Pan Am Airlines? Remember them? They were the only game in town. This was before we was even flying. Because, you know, black folks got something with planes and boats. But before we were flying, the commercials were everywhere. The stewardesses were sharp. I remember their little hats they had on. They were sharp. But they had been having financial difficulties for years. And in 1989, they were the object of a terrorist attack where they lost 260 people. 1989. They never recovered. In 1991, they filed for bankruptcy. So, what about Howard Johnson's? Remember Howard Johnson's? Kodak. You don't hear that anymore. Virgin Mobile, a cell phone company. Radio Shack. I bought a lot of nice stuff from Radio Shack. Barbie dolls. Now they're still around, but they're not like they used to be. Everything has a shelf life. And there's a time and a place for everything under the sun. Even the Bible says that. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't waste time. Live your life. Enjoy yourself. Get out there. Don't stay out as late as I did, though. That's too much. And remember, you don't know what you don't know. Take care.